So, Pokemon Home compatibility is releasing tomorrow or today, depending on when you're watching this video and your time zone, of course. The Pokemon OU Council has been making announcements for returning Pokemon and their tiering. So, gonna be OU and Uber. So, the last vote was on Zamazenta and Zamazenta Ground. Now, those two are gonna be both legal in the OU tier, starting with Pokemon Home compatibility, which is very interesting to say the least. As you know, Zamazenta is a very disappointing cover legendary, and this will be the first time since I think Kieran Black, right, that a cover legendary will be allowed in the OU tier. I know that Zamazenta Ground was suspect tested back in Gen 8 OU, but it was still banned afterwards. It was just too strong. But still, second time I guess that we have a cover legendary be allowed in the OU tier. Now, so let's talk about Zamazenta, because I think with the power creep this generation, these Pokemon can definitely be containable in the tier. So first, regular Zamazenta, right? Now these stats are obviously amazing. You have great bulk, 92 base HP, 115 both defenses, and you have the Dauntless Shield ability, which gives you a +1 defense on switch in, but of course it's only once. So you can kind of use this once as a pseudo check to a lot of physical attackers as well and threaten them back, because this Pokemon has a, it has a great attack stat at 120, solid attack stat, and you have amazing speed tier at 138. Now with Regieleki also being available in the OU tier, this makes it the third fastest Pokemon in the tier, slightly slower than Dragapult. And Chinpao is also gonna be returning, which means you can, pseudo check this or semi check Chinpao with Dauntless Shield and the bulk, and of course you resist Crunch, and you can outspeed it and threaten it with close combat. So that's a big deal. Now, this Pokemon though, even though it's super bulky and super fast, 120 is a solid attack stat, like I said. But with these days, with all these Pokemon having absurd attack stats, I think this at 120 is still be able to be checked, especially with the poor offensive profile that this Pokemon has. I mean, it's pure fighting. It of course has step close combat, but aside from that, that's it. So right, so when you look at the tier, we got poison types, fairy types, Amoonguss, Azumarill can easily take a close combat. Ghost types, of course, like Ceruledge and Golden Go, and more like Toxapex can handle it. I mean, pretty sure Dondozo can also take hits quite well from it. This Pokemon does have some good coverage options to hit Pokemon that could switch into close combat. For example, it has Psychic Fangs. I think that's a mandatory move on this Pokemon. This allows you to hit Amoonguss, Toxapex, Great Tusk for super effective damage. It also allows you to hit Clodsire, but Clodsire doesn't really like taking close combat anyway. So yeah, pretty much all the poison types and Great Tusk. You have Crunch. I think this is another mandatory move that allows you to hit Ghost types. You hit Ceruledge, you hit Dragapult, you hit Golden Go, Skeledirge, Zoroark. I think Golden Go and Skeledirge are the main ones, as they can, their bulk is pretty good, so they can take hits pretty well and just recover or slack off in Skeledirge's case. I mean, Dragapult and Skeledirge, not Skeledirge, Dragapult and Ceruledge and Zoroark don't really want to switch into a move anyway. And for the last slot, I think Ice Fang is your best option. This allows you to hit Zapdos and Tornadus and Landorus. That's a big one. Landorus 4 times a week, of course, because these Pokemon are all returning. These have been OU staples for the past generations, and I think they will still be OU Pokemon in this generation. Of course, they resist close combat with their flying. So Ice Fang is an option there. You have Wild Charge as well. Wild Charge allows you to hit Azumarill. It also, it does do super effective damage against Dondozo, but with Stab, close combat does the same damage without the recall. so you don't really need wild charge for that. It's good for a Azumarill. Aside from that, there's not really anything that it hits in the OU tier. Crunch also hits Slowking now that I'm looking at it. Hits Slowking, this Slowking, normal Slowking, and Slowking Galar. So that's also, Crunch also good for that. But even then, with the coverage it does have, it still gets walled by Pokemon like Volcarona. Volcarona is still a very good check to it, especially with Flame Body. And there are other options that can still, you know, take hits pretty well, like Hatterene, defensive Hatterene. I don't know how much Crunch does to Hatterene, but actually I can look it up. The Crunch does 35, max 30, 35. So yeah, Hatterene is a pretty good check to it as well. Despite the coverage it does have. I'm pretty sure it has Iron Head, but that's only hitting Hatterene and what's the other? Iron Valiant. But you know, Iron Valiant does not really want to switch in to Zamazenta. Still gonna take significant damage from close combat. Mew also gets hit by Crunch, so you have Crunch for that. You have Crunch hits Mew as well. So yeah, like I said, I think Crunch is a mandatory option. I think Psychic Fangs as well, and I would say Ice Fang in this slot. There are not really that much other better coverage options that you might want to run on this Pokemon anyway. So yeah, I mean, that has Trailblaze, which is interesting, but I don't think it's that good, especially on a Choice Band set. And it does not really have the potential to be a late game cleaner or sweeper, because its only boosting move is Howl. So yeah, now that's everything about normal Zamazenta. I think that's everything I wanted to say about that Pokemon. So yeah, it's strong, it's fast, it's bulky. One of the fastest Pokemon in the tier. 120, respectable, solid attack stat. And you know, I think it's prediction reliant, right? The only way to make progress with this Pokemon is to get your predicts right. Without that, you're screwed. And still, aside from that, it has checks to it. Mainly Volcarona is probably the best overall check to it. Now, of course, this Pokemon can Terrestrialize too. I have not taken that into account, and you can maybe run a Terra Blast with a typing, although I don't think that's gonna be reliable. I think the set right here on screen, I think this is the most reliable set. Maybe Terra Fighting, maybe Terra whatever, Dark, whatever you want. I think Fighting is gonna be it. Before I forget, an alternative to Ice Fang is Stone Edge. Still hits flying types like Tornadus T and Zapdos, but you're not hitting Landorus. So yeah, Stone Edge, you do hit the aforementioned flying types for more damage, but you're not hitting Landorus for super effective damage, which can be a big deal. Also, Ice Fang allows Zamazenta to hit Garchomp super effectively. Yeah, that's the only thing I want to say before I move on to Zamazenta. Ground though. So yeah, this Pokemon, the difference between this one and the other one, 10 less base points in speed. It's at 128 instead of 138, but significantly bulkier with 140 in both defenses. It still has a 120 base attack stat. So bulkier, slightly slower, and also of course gains a steel typing, so fighting steel, and you do lose your item slot on this one, so you can't use Choice Band like on the regular Zamazenta. You're forced to use the Rusted Shield, and this one was the Zamazenta. This is considered worse than this one, and it was, what was it, suspect tested in Gen 8. This is the one that was suspect tested in Gen 8, but did not stay there in the OU tier. So for this Pokemon, I put Close Combat, Behemoth Bash, pretty self-explanatory. Your two strongest step moves, 120 and 100 base power each respectively. Ice Fang, I put Ice Fang over the other options because this still allows you to hit all the flying types mentioned earlier and ground types. and Psychic Fangs can also be used. So you're not walled by packs. I think it's personal preference in this move slot. I think Ice Fang overall hits the most Pokemon for super effective damage. And we got Howl. So this is a 3-attack Howl set. Howl is a move that raises your attack stat by 1. Not the greatest, but it's still good, because setting up a Howl is not that difficult with the bulk you have. That 140 in both defenses, if ever not counting the Dauntless Shield boost that you may have active too. It's still walled by Volcarona as well. This set is still walled by Skeledirge. Even if you are using Crunch, the lack of Choice Band is still gonna leave it walled anyway. So yeah, that's why this Pokemon is considered worse than the regular Zamazenta, because you don't have an item slot. And 120 on its own, it's a good attack set, solid attack set, but it's not gonna be super overpowered and it lacks the power to break through checks. That's why Howl is here, because otherwise you're not doing that much damage, even though with the bulk you have. And Howl allows you to abuse that bulk and actually set up the Howl. So yeah, as far as as I have to predict right now, I think the crowned version will definitely stay OU. That's my prediction. And the regular one, it has potential to stay OU. I think it has the potential to stay OU, but I would not be surprised if it did end up getting banned. Before I end the video though, another interesting thing. Don't look at this moves. I just put random moves here, but it has body press in Gen 9, which is nice with Dauntless. If Dauntless Shield is also active, if it had it in Gen 8, this Pokemon would be it would have potential, right? But no, it gets body press when this ability is nerfed to the ground. But you do have Iron Defense. Body press is an option on this Pokemon. I don't know what the EV sprint on this would be, and the 2 filler moves. That's something I have not yet been able to figure out what it would run. But yeah, that is an interesting option for sure. Won't be surprised if people start running a set like this on the ladder. I just put these moves here because I could. I'm not saying this is a set, okay? But yeah, body press, Iron Defense, surely an interesting option. So that's everything I have about the Zamazenta forms. Like the video if you made it this far. Subscribe to the channel if you are new, because you're enjoying the content if you made it this far, right? So might as well. And check out my last discussion video on the Basque Legion forms. And I'm excited for home. I hope you are too. So thanks for watching and see you next time.